stop what you're doing and answer this high-yield MCAT question. Which of the following changes to an enzyme catalyzed reaction indicates the presence of a competitive inhibitor? So let's define some terms here. First, competitive inhibitor. Let's say this is our enzyme right here, and this would be like the normal substrate that we want in here, this active site. A competitive inhibitor would look similar. Like there's a difference here, but the main thing is like, this spot can fit in the active site, and so it will compete for the active site with the substrate. Next term we have is Vmax. Vmax is like the velocity, like the maximum velocity, if all enzymes present are full of substrates, right? So they're all working to their maximum capacity. That's like your maximum velocity. Next, we have Km. Km is the substrate concentration at half of Vmax, and usually it helps you understand like affinity for enzymes and substrates and stuff. And so let's see what will happen if you put the inhibitor, the competitive inhibitor in this situation. So the competitive inhibitor will it won't affect the Vmax, because Vmax is like an intrinsic ability of the enzyme, right? Intrinsic feature. And so even if all these be taken up the enzyme's active site, it's not going to affect the enzyme itself, meaning that you can have a bunch of inhibitors, then remove them, and the enzyme will bond to the substrate and then react and whatever, right? And reach Vmax. The Vmax itself, right? It might take longer to reach it, or it might take a lot more substrate to reach it, but Vmax, the maximum velocity that can be reached if all enzymes had substrates filled inside of them, that's just going to stay the same, okay? But as I just mentioned, it might take longer, it might take more substrates to reach that. So that's actually going to affect our Km, right? Km is going to have to increase, because let's say that normally the Km is 10 millimolar, right? We have all these inhibitors that are competing for the active site with the substrate. So we want to outcompete these competitors, okay? So instead of 10, we might need something like 176 millimolars. We have to increase this so that there can be more substrates that can fight for this active site and outcompete the inhibitor. So Km will increase, and that's pretty bad, but that's what you expect from inhibitors. It's bad because you want less Km, you want less substrate concentration to reach Vmax. If you take more, then it's less efficient. But anyways, that's going to fit into choice B.